Hello everyone, welcome back to Kirklees Guitar School. In today's lesson I'm going to teach you how to play Can't Get Enough by Bad Company. This is an absolute rock guitar must. There's a full free PDF which I keep referencing. If you head to the first link in the description, that'll take you to my website which you can download this completely for free. Don't want anything from you, head to the first link in the description. You'll find that alongside nearly 100 other guitar tabs for all the lessons that I've done here on YouTube. Make sure you go check that out. So this is, I want to caveat this, let me put this on the screen first while I'm waffling. So I want to caveat this with the record is, it's widely disputed on the internet whether the guitar's tuned to open G or tuned to C. I think it's tuned to C. Now, rather than teaching you all of that and going down that rabbit hole, I'm going to teach you how to play it in standard tuning, because if you were to come see me for a lesson, this is exactly how I teach you how to play it. You miss a tiny bit of the nuance, but I feel like you get everything without having to mess about with your guitar tuning, because it is quite an extreme tuning, okay? Now, there's two guitars laid on top of the record, and what I've done is I've picked the sort of the best bits of both to give you something that you can strum along to the record, and it's a really good time, okay? So, we're going to start with this bit here in the intro. We'll talk about tones and stuff in a second. I'm using the Les Paul today. I think it was a single pickup Esquire that they used on the record, but use the chapters feature if you want to look at something specific. I'll talk about it later in the video. Right, so we start with the C5 power chord, which is fret 3 on the A string, fret 5 on the D, fret 5 on the G, and we're going to hit that. Now, we're going to hold this for 6 beats in total. 4 beats in this bar, 2 beats in this bar. And can you see how you've got this line? I call them washing lines, but the technical term's a tie, which connects the two. So you're going to hit a big fat C chord to begin with. And then we're going to go to this F sus4 shape. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to, if you know your caged shapes, this is going to help, but if not, don't fear. I'm making this D major shape, you know the triangle of a D chord. But rather than your index finger being on the 2nd fret, we're going to move it all the way up to fret number 5. Okay? You got 5, 6, 5 again. Okay? Then I'm going to take the pinky and I'm going to put the pinky on the 6th fret of the high E string, so that I'm actually making contact with four different points on the fretboard. Okay? And I'm going to strum that with a down and an up. That's this here. And then I'm going to take the pinky off to relieve the normal sort of like D shape. Can you see me? Can you see how I do a down and an up stroke? And then I take the pinky off, which is this note. And again, we've got another washing line here, so we hang on to this. And then we do a short, sharp stab between the two. So we put the pinky on again and then take it off. Play the whole thing for you. C5, F sus4, F, F. See, here? Now a suspended 4th chord basically means you're taking the 4th note of the scale and putting it on top of a pre-existing chord. You're replacing the 3rd note of the scale with the 4th. Something like Crazy Little Thing Called Love uses that shape, and it's the same idea, but rather than using a D chord down here at the bottom of the fretboard, we're all the way up here at fret number 5. I'm going to use this quite a lot, so make sure you get that under your fingers for me. We're going to repeat that twice. Moving on, we're going to go into the verse. Now the verse, we're going to play 2 strokes of C5, 2 strokes of B flat 5, and then we're going back to this F and F sus4. We'll talk about this in a second. 2 strokes of C, 2 strokes of B flat. So we've got 3rd fret, we're going to kick it down 2 frets, and do 2 there as well. Do that first bar for me. And that's what's going on there, which we'll break down in a second. Looking at the PDF, this is the verse section on the 3rd line down on the 1st page, okay? Right, let's talk about this dude here. So again, we're starting with that little triangle shape that looks like a D, but it's on fret 5, fret 6 and fret 5 again, on the G, the B and the high E. I'm gonna play that twice with a down and an up stroke. I'm then going to take the pinky and put that on the 6th fret of the high E string and do another downstroke. So I'm only playing the first 3 notes. I'm then going to take the pinky off, and I'm going to go up, down, up with the regular F chord, no pinky down, and then I'm going to put it down again on the finish. So I'm just alternate picking it or alternate strumming. Practice that for me. And you see how, like over here, we're using quite a lot of gain today, and I'm strumming really lightly. If you do it too much, it turns into something else, yeah? I'm going to do this 4 times. Then going on to the next part of the, which this bolts on to the end of the verse, and this is what connects it to a chorus. I won't call it a pre-chorus necessarily, but it's the come on, come on, come on and do it, da 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 da. It's just the bit that comes before the chorus, but it's not too, it's more a connecting kind of thing as opposed to its own section. So I'm going to play a G5, and each of these chords I'm going to hold for 4 beats. So I'm going to go G, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, B flat, 2, 3, 4, F. Now can you see this rest here? So as soon as you play that F5 chord, I want you to stop the strings from ringing and get yourself to the shape for E flat, okay? Now E flat, if you take that D chord shape, again we're going to use the shape a lot today, I want you to, instead of moving it all the way up to fret number 5, I want you to move it to fret number 3. When I say fret number 3, I'm talking about your pointing finger. Your index finger wants to be on fret number 3. So instead of it being 2, 3, 2, like it is for a D chord, it's 3, 4, 3. And we're just going to catch the top 3 strings of the chord, okay? Don't get that open D string like you'd play with a regular D chord, otherwise it'll sound gross. And I'm going to do 2 really short, sharp stabs. E, E. And you see how there's another little rest in the gap here, and that's because I want to cut the note short, and there wants to be an audible gap. Let me play all 4 bars. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, B flat. 2, 3, 4, F, E, E. Okay? What I would advise here from this point is take the PDF and practice the 4 repeats of the first bit of the verse, and then bolt that little 4-bar bit that finishes on the E flat to create one big section. Okay? Right, we've got quite a lot of the song here. We're going to talk about the chorus now. Now the chorus, I've had to make a couple of little changes just simply because they're playing in an open tuning. Now I don't know if you've ever learned anything by the Rolling Stones before, something like Keef Richards tunes his guitar to open G all the time. And sometimes you miss a little bit of the nuance when you try and play it in standard tuning, but I think it's worth that sacrifice so that you can just pick up your guitar and play it, and it's not a ball ache to do. Tune your guitar and stuff. Now again, this looks like we've got a lot going on, but actually once we break it down, you'll see it's just one kind of recurring pattern. Now we've already done this. We've already done this in the verse, haven't we? We're kind of taking the same pattern with a C chord. Now, a lot of people mistake the, this is what we're going for, this is the chorus part. Can't get enough of your love. There's a lot going on in this little sort of area here which I'll break down, but a lot of people mistake that for like a blues shuffle, and that's not the case at all. It's all suspended chords. Sort of a la Keef Richards doing that kind of thing. So what I've done is, rather than playing the full fat bar chord and putting the pinky on, I've taken the top 3 notes, 5th fret on the D, the G and the B strings, and I'm going to bar that with my index finger. And I'm going to play that with a down and an up stroke. Now with this finger, I'm muting the A string and the high E to stop them ringing out, otherwise you get loads of unwanted notes. We don't want that, we just want those 3 notes of that major chord. And I'm doing that with an upstroke, and I'm using the flesh on the bottom of my hand to mute these strings, and I'm using my thumb over the top of the neck to mute that, but you don't necessarily have to do that. That's just one of my little, it's because I've got hands the size of shovels, I can't help it, I've got to put my thumb somewhere. So the figure is, we're going to play this C chord with a down and an upstroke twice, and then I'm going to use my middle finger for this actually. Middle finger, and I'm going to put that on the 6th fret of the B string to create. Now it doesn't sound like much in isolation, but if you follow the similar pattern to what we did in the verse, where you do 2 on, 2 off, 1 on, 3 off, 1 on. You know, you see what I mean by when I say 1 on, I'm putting the finger down. Just practice that first bar, and if you need to use your ring finger, that's fine, but I find my second finger's the best one for that. Now you would be forgiven for putting an extra C in here. I might do that if I'm not under the microscope, but as far as I'm aware, they're not doing it on record. So that's the first bar. I'm then going to go to this D shape for the F chord down here. And can you see how I'm still following the same pattern? I play the D shape, F chord, twice, put the pinky on, take it off for 3, put it on for 1. Let me play that for you. Now, you should get to the top of page 2 now, moving on to the next section, which is the end of the chorus. Now, there's an interesting little power chord bit here. So I'm looking at the top of page 2 on the PDF, okay? So I'm going to play a big fat G chord. I'm then going to take that shape and move it down 2 frets to C5, and I'm going to do 2 stabs on C5 with the break in the middle. Can you see here? Now you'd be tempted to go back here to play this G5 chord, but they actually go up the octave, so they're playing the 5th fret, 7th fret and 8th fret of the D, the G and the B strings, which creates this sort of like fanned out chord. And it's a lot more direct sounding, rather than... So you're starting low. Now you see how sometimes I'll press the other strings on the guitar so that I can spank it, but I'm not getting open strings. The more that you play, the more you'll learn to keep hold of all of the notes that you don't want to ring out, which is kind of it's a really advanced sort of thing for guitarists, especially in this rock guitar sort of style. When you're playing with some distortion on your amplifier, you've just got to be a little bit more cautious of... Because if you catch a string you don't mean to, it just ruins the whole chord, doesn't it? So if I glue those 2 together, you've got 3 of these. Just pretend I'm on the 3rd time now, instead of, I won't make you sit and listen to me do it 3 times. But assuming we're on the last repeat here. Okay. So I would advise here is a really good point in the video to pause it and get those sections under your fingers. We've talked about the intro, the verse and the chorus, which is basically all of the rhythm parts. We're going to talk about the solo now, but I think having that solid foundation is really going to help you, and especially like dialing those little suspended chords in, it's well worth your time. Now for the solo, there's quite a lot going on in this solo, and there's harmonies and bits that are double tracked. Now I can't be everywhere at once, and neither can you, I'm assuming. So what I've done is I've made an executive decision of which of the licks to play, which I feel like are the coolest ones, okay? If you're wanting to do a little bit more of an in-depth deep dive, there's a plethora of lessons that go really, really deep on this, but I didn't feel like it was worth our time. I just want to give you something to play and maybe an itch that you can scratch. And if you decide to go a little bit deeper, you can do that by all means and take what we've learned and apply it elsewhere. I hope that makes sense. Right, so it starts with this this bit here. So we are looking at, this bit comes in after the second chorus. I think this is on page 3. Let me just double check. Yeah, second line of page 3. Now we're going to play this bit twice, hence the repeat markers either side, okay? See these funny looking brackets over here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the 14th fret of the D string. Now the whole thing, the whole piece has got kind of a little bit of a swing kind of feel to it, and this is no exception. The first bar, you're just messing about between the 14th fret and the 12th fret of the D string. 2 14s, 12, 14, 12, and then you're going to come up to the 15th fret of the A string and then resolve on the 14th fret of the G. That's your first lick. And when you hit this 14th fret, you'll see I'm putting some vibrato on. Anytime that I'm coming from the school of Gary Moore, anytime that you've got a second where you're hanging onto a note, make sure you're giving it a wobble. In the second part of this phrase, it's exactly the same, but we're not going to resolve to the 14th fret of the G, we're just going to stick on that 15th fret. Pause the video and get that under your fingers. That's the first bit. We're going to repeat this twice. Now you will hear another guitar in the background doing kind of like call and response licks with this. I feel like this is the most important bit that's being played there, so that's why I've transcribed it this way. So we do that twice. We're then going to go to the next bit, which goes to the 8th fret of the high E string. So it kind of has this sort of C major kind of vibe to it. If you think major pentatonic shape 1, so we've got 8th fret, which we're going to play twice. We're then going to move up to the B string. We're going to play 8, 10, and then back to the root there. That's your first bar. And then we're going to do that little 3-note figure twice in the second bar. 8, 10, 8, 8, 10, 8. All together. With that you've got... And again. Go into that C note. Third line. Now here you'd be tempted to just reach up to this 11th fret, having spent quite a lot of time here between fret 8 and fret 10. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to do what we call a position shift, where you take your fingers and I want you to play this very first note with the index finger, not your ring finger, because you're going to need to come up again for these bends, which I'd prefer you to use your ring finger for. Okay, so move your index finger up to this 11 and we're going to do 2 stabs on the 11. He says, and again we've kind of swapped to C minor pentatonic now. If you know your scales, we're in position 2 of C minor pentatonic. We're going to play that 11th fret twice. I'm then going to use the ring finger on the B string to play that note, and then back to the index finger to finish off this first bar of this slide. Just practice that first bar for me for a second. Moving into the second bar, I'm going to take my ring finger and I'm going to play the 13th fret of the high E string. Now I'm going to bend the string up. While it's up in the air, I'm going to pick it a second time here and then bring it back down. Can you see how the bend goes up? Then you have to pick the note again and you bring it back down. So you're not bending it up twice and then bringing it... You're not doing this. It's... So you bend it up to the desired destination, pick it again, and bring it back down. Once you bring it down, it's good grammar, isn't it? Once you brought it back down, you're going to then pull off to the 11th fret. So you're only picking the note twice, but you're getting 3 notes instead of 2. You see how I didn't pick that? And then I'm going to pick the 13th fret of the B string again to finish the phrase off. And that lick's just repeated twice. It's one of those where you've got to play it fast, otherwise it sounds nothing like what you're going for. In context, in fact, we've heard that enough times. I'll just go from here. Remember the position shift. Last part of the solo, which is on the 3rd page of the PDF. We've then got 2 bends on that 13th fret, followed by 2 times around that lick that we've just studied in the previous slide. Can you see this lick, this 4-note lick which we were talking about? You're going to do a short bend and a long bend. Ba 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 da 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 da. You have to forgive me. This Les Paul's significantly older than I am, and it's getting ready for a set of frets. But I'm trying to make it last as long as it can. I ain't got a lot of meat to go at here. So you've got bam bam. Then you've got here, where you do the lick twice. Now, can you see repeat markers here and here? I want you to play these 2 bars 3 times, followed by a big fat bend on the 15th fret of the high E string. Now, I think there's 3 guitars all playing different notes here. I could be wrong, but there's definitely at least 2, and I couldn't decide which one to pick. So I've picked that one, and I want you to pick that. Now, can you see the tie underneath, which means we're just going to carry that on. That's just going to go on for 2 bars before we go back into as chorus. Let me play this 3 times, and then I'll jump onto that. I had to double check myself then, I thought I'd missed it. There's not masses in that solo, but it's really satisfying to get. And also, if you've got a couple of buddies, try and have a look on somewhere like ultimateguitar.com and see if you can find the 2 guitar parts, and one guy learn one and one guy learn the other, and then see if you can do it together. It's a bit like the in Hotel California, the you know, guitar harmonies are loads and loads of fun, especially in this kind of 70s rock style. It's well worth your time. So, going back to the PDF, we've learned all of the song now. You've got all of the component parts. Following that solo, you'd move on to the 4th page of the PDF, which takes you into a chorus, which I've laid out differently because you're going to repeat that section 6 times, which is the C to the F, you know, the... So you're going to do 3 lots of that, followed by the how does it go? With that G chord that's sort of spanned out along the middle of the frets. Following that, you'll do that 6 times, and then that goes into the intro, which we've already discussed. Make sure you go to the website, guys. It's all laid out there. Now, you will hear some guitarists, you'll hear some extra guitars, some extra lead bits put over the top of that, where it goes round that chorus, round and round and round it. I made the decision to just play the rhythm guitar there and give you that on the transcription, because it'd take me ages to transcribe, and I don't feel like you'd have got anything from it. If I was in a gigging scenario, I would use the C minor pentatonic scale to create all those sort of conversational ad-libs. Now, I think that's far more important for you guys to practice at home rather than studying exactly what they're doing on that record, because like a solo that's premeditated, like what we looked at, is really, really straightforward to follow. It's tuneful, it's melodic, and it's quite easy to get under your, it's quite easy to get the melody in there and gives you a lot of direction. When somebody's improvising, sometimes it's not always as cut and dry as that. So what I'd like you to do, if you feel like you're missing that part, take the C minor pentatonic scale. I've loads of lessons on pentatonic scales that you'll find here on YouTube. Come up with some of your own. And like I say, if you want to do a really, really deep dive, you want to find somebody else's lesson with the open C tuning and all of that anyway. So I hope that makes sense. I've just felt like it'd take me an extra hour to prepare, and not a lot of you would have got much out of it. So I hope that's okay. Let me know if you disagree in the comments and we can talk about it. Tones. Now, the record was used. My research tells me that they were using a single pickup Esquire, Fender Esquire, which is a Telecaster with one pickup in the back. For this, I just got a better sound out of the Les Paul today, so that's why I wanted to use it. It would be my go-to guitar for all this kind of stuff. It's just a Les Paul standard, and I've used the neck pickup for the vast majority of it. The tone's quite thick and quite heavy. When I say heavy, it's not distorted, it's quite bass heavy is I think what I wanted to say. I'm using a Boss Katana Gen 3 on the lead setting. The gain is on 9 o'clock, the volume is on 10 o'clock, the bass and middle are on 12 o'clock, the treble is on 1 o'clock. I've no effects apart from just a splash of spring reverb, which is at 10 o'clock as well, and I've got it on the 0.5 of a watt setting. And I say this all the time, if you've seen any of my lessons before, when you're going for this kind of 70s rock thing, you know, it's not just Bad Company. You think of maybe a bit earlier, like bands like Free, Steppenwolf. When I'm going for that kind of 70s rock guitar tone, when you play an open chord, my sort of acid test for this is I'll play a G chord. And can I hear the sparkle of the higher notes of the string ringing out, or is it too distorted? If it's too distorted, it'll all just sound fuzzy and mushy. And it's like AC/DC is the same. You want to be able to hear the articulation of the higher strings. I've dropped out of tune a bit, so please do forgive me. But you need just a little bit of treble for all that to cut through, and the best way to get that is turn your gain down, okay? So, you know, the gain is only at 9 o'clock, it's not a lot. Anyway, I'll stop waffling, that's how I'm getting my guitar tones. Make sure you head to the website and grab this completely for free, don't want anything from you. We've also got a second link in the description is this private Facebook group, which I encourage you to go and join. We do this thing every week called Feedback Friday, where people post clips of them playing, and I give them personalised feedback on what they can do to make them a better guitar player. And this is what this is all about. Anyway, I will catch you next week for another electric guitar lesson. Thank you so much.